Next, we're going to bring up my another great friend of mine, Brandon Lucero. Now, I'm always excited to have Brandon share because the story is we've known each other. There's a whole origin story in how we just randomly met. Part of it had to do with watching him on YouTube and Speedos and just knowing, I got to meet this guy, you know. But the story I actually want to tell was when, I don't even know how it happened, I think I just kind of reached out to him in a bit of desperation, but I knew for some reason that he could help. And it was interesting at the time because he wasn't doing what he's doing today. Not anywhere at the level that he is. And that is in my journey with BBD before the hockey stick, when it was like right here. And I had enough self-awareness within me to say, I'm too close to this, and I don't really know what I have yet. And I said, what's your price? Can I just come hang out with you for like 2 days and we figure this out? And the moment we went to his office and no one else was there, it was just him and I, and we had like the whole office and the whiteboards and the pens. And I was like, here's what I think I have, here's where I'm stuck. And it was just a messy AF 2 days of ideas and notes and the cliche piles of crumpled paper overflowing the trash can. But all of a sudden there was a moment, and I think it was about 2:30 in the afternoon of day one, where something started to click. And I was like, oh, that's what it is. And this is how to say it, and this is how to put it together. And that was 2 days of us creating the messaging and the scripts for what became the Rise of the Digital CEO. And when we launched it after those 2 days, a couple months later, that was when we had our first $1 million launch. And so, Brandon is a brilliant mind when it comes to messaging, content, powerful, influential content. So I knew if we were going to talk advanced launch strategies, we had to have Brandon here.
Yeah, thanks.
Brandon, we have the time. Did you want to do a live?
The what?
We have the time. Do you want to do a live example?
Yeah, let's do a workshop. Does anyone want to come up and we'll go? What we're going to do, before I tell you what we're going to, before you volunteer, let me just. My students know this. I have a history of having tough love and being very blunt and direct and to the point. So if you're making, yeah, you're just like, no, not at all.
Is that Beverly?
If you come on stage, I'm going to be that person. So if you want to come on up.
Come on
Okay,
down.
and what's your name? Jill. Oh, Jill. Hello. Okay, so what do you do?
I know you.
So, I'm starting a rewire your relationship. What I'm working on is helping women reconnect to their husbands so they don't get a divorce.
Okay, so rewire relationship, and then the second part.
Or rekindle romance. I'm still working with that.
Okay, so you rewire the relationship.
Uh-huh.
Be careful with this because no one knows what that means.
So rekindle the romance better?
Rekindle, yeah. To me, rewiring the relationship is what you're doing. It's the tool you use. It's not what you're actually doing.
I think the more I think about that, I think that I like the other idea.
I think it's
better.
rekindling relationship even if your husband's not on board. This is more of the tool.
Got it.
And people do this all the time. They mix up the tool with what they do. And the tool is not what you do, it's how the transformation is actually created. And that's like, one of the biggest mistakes of messaging. Okay, so rekindle. So I'm gonna change this to rekindle. Okay, cool. All right, and then how do people know if they need this solution?
Either they're not having sex, they're not...
Okay, stop there.
Okay.
This is about to get real awkward and hopefully fun. When you guys hear, just put your hands up, not having sex, and that means...
Avoiding intimacy.
Hold on. I'm in charge here. Hold on. When she said not having sex, what number minimum popped up in your guys' head? Just start shouting out numbers. 0? What else? The guys, because I know 0 probably wasn't the number for guys, I'm hoping. No? All right. No one wants to tackle this. Okay. So for me, like not having sex, yeah, like for me, like once or twice a week is like what came up for me.
And that would be hopeful for a guy that's in a relationship with a woman that's...
Well, yeah, I'm married and
yeah, Okay.
have a good relationship, apparently, because people think this is absurd, but for me, but the point I'm trying to make is that when you say not having sex,
It's
it leaves it
too
open to
relative.
interpretation. So what does this mean? Does it mean 0 or does it mean 1 to 2? What does it mean?
It means 0.
0, okay. So when you're describing this, you're saying you're not having sex, which means you're having 0 sex. Now be careful, because what if they have sex once a month?
But they feel forced, or they're not into it, or it's not.
Okay, so now, great. So it's not having sex, and when you do, and feels forced. So now we've gone from you're not having sex to you're not having sex at all, but when you do, it feels forced, and there's no intimacy. Now this is going to hit people on that subconscious level to get them to go, that's me. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, what's another problem?
So they're not communicating what's important. They're avoiding arguments. They're keeping secrets. They're not.
Well, let's do one at a time. 'Cause
I mean, it's all kinetic.
By the way, every single thing you just said is a different problem.
Okay.
So let's pick one.
Because I wasn't sure if that was the mistake or if that was the problem. That's
We'll
where I was-
sort that later, but
Okay.
what's the next one?
So let's
Give me one.
stick with they're not sharing. They're not they're
Okay,
not.
let's stop there. When they say not sharing, what does sharing mean? Does it mean they're not sharing their food, their money, their toys?
They're not, well, it could be any one of those things, but they're not sharing how they really feel because they think it's going to turn into an argument.
Not sharing their emotions.
Yeah. Or what's frustrating them or upsetting them.
And how many times per week do you think that they're keeping something in that they want to say?
Hourly, weekly, daily, I mean, like daily.
Give me
At
a number.
least,
So one of the best ways to get specific is incorporate numbers, whether it's a time
okay.
or quantity.
So an example could be like if one of the things that irritates them is that they don't put the seat down, that could happen multiple times in a day. If it's that they don't take the trash out, it's one time a day.
Just give me a number.
Well, it depends on the thing, yeah?
Well, then let's get more specific. Not sharing emotions.
Not sharing what bothers them, that their expectation. Oh God, so this is good. Okay, because they're getting mad because they're not doing what they want them to do, even though
Very
they're
simple.
not
They're not
telling them.
sharing emotions. Is there a specific type of emotion they're not sharing that you want to dive into?
Maybe they're just not sharing their expectation because they think.
Okay, so are we on expectations or emotions?
I think it's expectation. I think, which leads to their emotion.
Make a decision.
Aye.
By
They're
the way,
not.
there's no right or wrong.
Well, I
because
mean, I think they're two different problems, actually.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So let's bring emotions back and let's
Okay,
stick here.
yeah, I think
How
you're
many
right.
times a week are they not sharing that they want to share their emotions, but they feel like they have to bury it inside?
I mean, I really think that happens every day.
Daily. Okay, great. Daily. Give me some examples of how this might show up. Like something happened at work or the kids said
Okay,
something.
so they came home, had asked the dishes to be unloaded. They're still loaded, and there's dishes piling up. That would. Oh no, that's the action. That's the expectation. The emotion.
When they're not sharing their emotions, what type of emotions? I'm just going to help you out with this one. I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like something happened at work and they're not able to talk about it because their partner is not emotionally available. Or something happened with the kids and they feel like their partner is going to
That's
shove them down.
another problem. So that is another problem.
Okay.
Completely. Okay. Yeah. So something happened with a friend, and they don't feel comfortable sharing how they feel about it because they don't think he cares. That's a whole different problem.
So what I'm hearing is they're not sharing their emotions, but the big one you're leaning into is they can't share how the other person's hurting them. Okay. So we'll just leave it at that.
That's.
But do you see how we're even
That's
getting
new, and that's a
specific
good
on
one.
what that emotion even is?
Yes.
And how it shows up the most?
Yes.
Okay. Give me two more.
Okay, so then the other one is their expectation of behavior that their husband's not doing.
So husband is not meeting expectations.
Yeah.
How many times a day does that happen?
At least once a day.
Okay. It's funny they think that's a problem. That feels normal.
And that is it. And they're making it a problem when it's
Maybe they need to realize that this is normal
And-
and be okay with that.
And
Is that
that
something you teach or no?
Yes,
Okay,
that's
perfect.
exactly what I teach. They
Okay.
get to be them, you get to be you.
Great. And you're okay with it?
Yeah.
Beautiful, love it. Okay, let's do one more.
They think the grass is greener. Like they're
What if-
considering divorce.
How long have they been considering divorce?
Every time he does any one of those things.
So daily.
Me,
And
Yeah.
how long has all of this been going on?
it's chronic, so I just think it continues to get worse and worse and worse.
I understand that, but what's a minimum amount of time? Like, if you were to say, hey, you're qualified to work with me if you've been experiencing or thinking about divorce for X amount of time. Like, if they've considered divorce for one day, does that mean they should be working with you? Like, when does it become a problem?
I think the sooner that I think it,
Well, let's look at this way. If you went into a doctor and you started explaining anxiety, and you're like, oh, I've been anxious for one day, he's not going to go, or she's not going to go, hey, here's a prescription, go take it, right?
so like.
But if you said, I've been doing it for a year, they're going to go, okay, now it's a problem. But that means from one day to a year, there was some point where it finally qualified as a problem. And we need to figure out what that is for you.
I think if it's going on for 3 months, their
3 months.
foot is almost up. They're really considering it,
Okay.
and they're just afraid.
Now, this number is not as important as you guys might think, because when I said you're plateaued for at sales and audience growth for 3 months or more, everyone's been plateaued I've been plateaued in my own business for 3 months or more. But I'm picking specific numbers just to get the audience's subconscious to go, yep, that's me. So this is not a qualification or anything. It's literally designed to put some qualification in there so that their subconscious goes, oh, this is relevant to me. Make sense? Okay. So, all right. So we know that you help people that are not having sex at all, and even if they do, it feels forced. They're not able to share their emotions daily with their spouse. And the number one thing that they want to share they can't is how the other person is hurting them. Their husband doesn't meet expectations at least once a day, and they've been considering divorce daily for at least 3 months.
And can I just add, so
Yep.
like the thing like this is that not only is their husband's not meeting their expectations, but they think he's being passive aggressive. Like they think he's doing it on purpose because he should know better.
Now remember, we don't need to shove everything in here.
No, but I just because I feel like that is a really big one.
Right,
like
but I'm
they
just
blame.
When I work with people, I also look at their communication patterns. So what I'm doing is when you're explaining to me, I'm also looking at your patterns. And one of your patterns is to over-explain. And we need to under-explain. How do we communicate as, because you want to include everything, and that's what a lot of people do. I want to include every problem, every solution, every
And
whatever.
like you explained me when you're talking about the teaching, I overteach.
We want to be concise and to the point and speak to the subconscious mind. So what we have to ask ourselves, is this enough to get like 70% of our audience to go, that's me? And if the answer is yes, then we move on. So if you took your audience and you said this, would 70% of them resonate with at least one of these?
I believe so. This is new. This is brand new, but yes.
Yes. Okay, great. And that means it's time to move on. And then we can test these, like what you were asking. We can test these in content and images and just see which one is resonating. People will literally tell you, oh my God, that's me, you're in my head, whatever. So pay attention to that. Okay, so what are some of the reasons why these, well, there's two types of mistakes we want to focus on. There's mistakes that cause the problem, and there's also mistakes they do to try to fix the problem that don't work. You can choose which one you want to go with. For you, what I'm feeling, my intuition tells me, let's go to what they've tried that doesn't work, okay?
Okay.
So just so you guys know, you can go either route with this.
Okay.
What have they done to try to fix this on their own that doesn't work?
Okay, so I have the wrong thing here. So, couples therapy,
Okay? They can get their husbands to go?
yeah, they can.
Okay, what else?
Um,
How long have they been in couples therapy?
Couples therapy would be like, so the things that I can say from personal experience would be like a weekend to remember. Which
Now, how
is
long
a-
have they
is
been
the-
in? Is this couples retreats or therapy?
Well, that's the other one. And one's a retreat, one is a therapy, and that could go like a 6-week
Okay, you're doing the
thing.
over-explaining thing again?
Again, but you asked
So
the
therapy. How long have they been in therapy? By the way, these are very simple questions that you should know the answers to.
Okay.
And when your messaging's dialed in, it should be bam, 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 bam. I know this. So, how long have they been in couples therapy for?
I don't have an answer for that.
Well, just make something up then.
Okay, 6 weeks.
6 weeks, okay. So you've been in couples therapy for at least 6 weeks. Okay, what else? What other mistakes are they doing that doesn't work?
Trying a Christian-related retreat called
Are
Weekend.
you working with just Christian people?
This particular one is called Weekend to Remember and is held by.
But listen to the question. Are you working specifically with just Christian people?
No.
Then we don't use that.
Gotcha.
Because what that's going to do is someone who's not Christian and comes into your thing goes, not relevant to me.
Got it.
Okay? So let's do another one.
Other mistakes is that they think by avoiding confrontation, they're saving their marriage.
And burying it down, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so it's just like that quirk.
And let's do 2 more. So what's one other mistake they've made to try to fix the problem that doesn't work?
Spending less time together.
And what does that mean?
Spending more time with their sister, girlfriend, family, anyone but their spouse. Can a mistake be just then that they think the grass is greener? Like they think if they were...
The way I like to look at things is I never want to leave anything open to interpretation.
Got it.
So if I say the grass is always greener and I ask everyone in this room, what does that mean, the grass is always greener to you? I'm going to get 50, 70 different answers. So I try to limit the interpretations as much as I can. And when we limit the interpretations, we tell the subconscious what to think and basically force them to go, this is relevant or it's not. Mm-hmm. So let's get, and is this all women that you work with? Okay.
Yeah, only...
So let's give the women a name. We're going to give them an identity. So what we like to do instead of our brand is we create identities. So when I talk about mistakes and problems, I connect it to the unheard entrepreneur. The second someone goes, that's me, and I tell them that's the unheard entrepreneur, they take on the identity of unheard entrepreneur. And then I create a second identity, which is the new generation entrepreneur, and now I'm creating a demand gap. So if I can get people to self-identify, oh my God, that's me, and I give it a label, they will take that on as a part of their identity. And then now it's very easy to say, you want to be over here. And so my program now becomes the bridge from one identity to the next. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an identity within your brand that when you say this, people will self-identify. So what's a name? Give them a name.
So what I have been in my current messaging is going from roommate to soulmate.
What is the first one?
Roommate.
That's great. That's good. Let's stop there. Here's how I would open a webinar or a piece of content or something based off of what you're saying. So I'd say something like, hey ladies, today what we're going to do on this webinar is I'm going to do this big, you're going to say the title, you're going to say the subline. And I want to be very sure and clear with you guys who this is right for and who it's not. So what I'm going to help you do is go through this process. We're going to make sure that you go from roommates with your significant other to a soulmate. Now, the biggest problem that I've seen with roommates is most of them, when you're in the roommate stage, you're not having sex at all. And even if you do, it feels completely forced with absolutely no intimacy. The other thing is that you're not sharing emotions daily with your spouse, but more specifically, you're not sharing, and you can't share because there's no open space to share how they're actually hurting you on a daily basis, and they're not even aware of it. The next thing is that if you're in the roommate phase, your husband never meets any of your expectations. In fact, he doesn't meet them at least once a day. And the way you interpret that is that he's extremely passive aggressive. And you've been considering divorce, and this is a big one, you've been considering divorce at least once a day for the last 3 months. Now, I know that if that's you, what you've probably done to try to fix this problem is you've been in therapy, if you could get your husband to go, and you've been in there for at least 6 months, and there's 6 weeks, absolutely no progress. You've been avoiding confrontation and just dealing with it, shoving it deep down and saying it will pass one day. But it's been 3 months already or more, and nothing has changed at all. And what's happening because of this is you're spending less time with your significant other and you're spending more time with friends and family. And you know deep down that there's something wrong with that. And the last one is that you're daydreaming of being with other people, whether that is in the form of cheating, emotional connection, or something like that. So if you are in any of that, if any one of those resonates with you, you're in what I call the roommate stage. And what I want to do is bring you guys to the soulmate stage. I'm going to give you my number one tactic today to help you start to do that. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So, thank you. So all we did in order to get that was just dive deep down into the things that you told me. The only thing I did was just ask specifics of each one. I asked how many times, what are the numbers, how long has this been going on? Anytime you gave me something that I knew was going to have a different interpretation, I asked you to get specific on it. And that's all we did. And then all you do, once you have this list, and this is all messaging is you just have a document with all your messaging, and you find out what works, and then you just plug them into frameworks, or you plug them into webinar scripts, or you plug them into whatever. And once you find what works, you just have this way of communicating where you're just going to use these all the time to get people to self-identify. So, make sense? Any questions?
So then I'm just teaching them one portion of the bigger portion.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to frame it the right way. I'm going to give you number one framework and you can always say start. Start fixing some of this. You're never going to say I'm going to fix all of it because that's
Right,
impossible. But
right.
to start fixing a lot of this, and maybe by the end of today, you'll have the framework that'll help you at least have a conversation to express how you're feeling.
Yes.
But you see how that leaves so much more meat on the bone to be able to be like, my program's going to help you with everything. Make sense?
Yes.
Yeah?
All right, can we give a huge round of applause to Brandon and
Thank you.
Jill? Brandon, stay up here. Thank you so much, Jill. Well done.